So I just got back from watching Scream 7, and I have some thoughts, and I thought I would share them. As you might be able to tell, I love the Scream movies. They are my favorite horror movie franchise. This movie, I just found to be mediocre. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a great Scream movie, though. And I'm going to go into why I feel that is. Beware, there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, come back once you've seen it. Let's start with what I liked about the movie. I really enjoyed the direction they took Sydney's character. I enjoyed that she wasn't, like, so worn down by her trauma that it was depressing. You could see how the trauma had shaped her into the person she is without it taking a huge toll, and she was still able to live her life. I really enjoyed the relationship between her and her husband. I thought it was cute. It felt genuine. You know, they kind of joked around together and had sweet moments. It didn't feel like the picture perfect marriage, but it didn't feel like, I don't know, it was just really cute and genuine, and I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that they both made it out of the movie. I also enjoyed Tatum. I thought that she was a pretty well done character. It is important to me in horror movies that the characters are well developed, good characters. I feel like in a lot of horror movies, the characters are an afterthought. They are just a means for the bloodshed. And I don't like that. In order for me to really like a horror movie, I need to get attached to the characters and care about the characters and want them to survive. So I appreciated that Tatum was a likable character with likable struggles of living in her mother's shadow and feeling like she didn't measure up to her mother's reputation. I thought she had a good arc because of that, and I also thought her arc with her mom was really good. It makes sense that Sydney would have struggled to open up with her daughter, and through this, it was a bonding experience. This was good family therapy for them. See, this is what, no, I was about to say, yeah, so, you know, if you have any struggles with anyone in your life, just go and face a serial killer together and you'll come out fine. Not good advice. Don't take that. Also, like, her arc with her name of, you named me after a dead girl who got her head crushed in a garage. That's the legacy that I'm named after, and Sydney being like, no, I named you after my best friend who was strong and was the last person I really trusted. And so her coming into her own and accepting the name was, I thought, a cute moment. Not cute. Cute's not the right word. It was a sweet moment. Speaking of characters, I am also really glad that they brought back the twins that are related to Randy because I really like them. They have been my favorite part of the past couple movies, so yay for them being back. And also yay for them not dying, although I'm not getting into the bad yet. I will just say for them, the going down with one stab in the kitchen temporarily and then just being out until everything was over. Like, that's kind of the same thing that happened to Mindy in the last movie. It felt like they didn't want to kill them off, but they didn't know what else to do with them. So they just had them lightly stabbed. And it felt cheap. Another highlight, I think, was the first Ghostface that was hit by a car. That was just awesome, seeing Ghostface hit by a car. That was very satisfying. And also, I liked the twist of taking off the mask and you unmask Ghostface, but you don't know who it is. It's like, that's not how this works, and all of them were all thrown off by it too. I thought that was a fun plot twist. I do wonder if they got that from Hard Eyes, because that's the same thing that happened there. And I am glad that they didn't do another killer trying to continue the Stab franchise like they kind of did for the past two movies of the Stab franchise being behind it. It was a little different in the 6th than it was in the 5th, but still, both of them felt like they were kind of the same thing in that regard. So I am glad they changed it up to making it more about Sydney than about the Stab franchise. Also, there were some great callbacks. I am a sucker for callbacks. I love callbacks. The scene where after the curfew was imposed everyone was rushing to get inside while they played Red Right Hand. It felt like it was right out of the first movie, because there was a scene that was pretty much beat for beat that, and I felt like I was watching the first Scream movie for a second there, and I enjoyed that. I wish I'd been watching the first Scream movie for a lot of it. And possibly my favorite part of the movie was Gail finally getting her interview. That was a fun moment. Also, the past Ghostface at the end. I have some issues with the way some of the Ghostface stuff was done that I'll touch on later, but the part of me that loves callbacks liked seeing all the past, well, not all the past Ghostfaces, but some of the more iconic past Ghostfaces at the end. Bringing back Matthew Lillard, I'm of course going to love, because it's Matthew Lillard. Tatum's boyfriend also called back 2 of Sydney's past boyfriends, and I will say these callbacks felt a little forced to me, but since I'm a sucker for nostalgia, I loved it regardless. You had him at the beginning of the movie, the most obvious one, crawling in through Tatum's bedroom window, and then he even said when she asked what he was doing, well, it occurred to me I've never snuck in through your bedroom window before, which was the exact same thing that Billy said in the first Scream. But then also, as soon as this started, I knew what was coming. After Tatum accused him of being the killer, and he caught back up with her, and he said, I would never hurt you. That is the exact same thing that Sydney's boyfriend in the second movie said before he was killed. And I'm blanking on his name right now, which is kind of frustrating, because I love Scream 2, it's my favorites. But, you know who I'm talking about. He said that right before dying, so as soon as, I think his name was Ben, as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, he's about to die, and sure enough, that was the last thing he said before dying, so I'm like, okay, kind of fun callback there. Now, moving on to the things that I didn't like. A lot of the story beats were kind of ruined by the trailer. Like, it all pretty much played out beat for beat as you saw in the trailer, and I wasn't really surprised by anything. The trailer completely showed half of the opening death scene, and then it showed, I literally just got back from the movie. This is kind of all still jumbled in my head. You got the scene in the house, them trying to sneak out of the house. You got the scene where Tatum has the gun. You knew from the trailer that Ghostface then kidnapped her. Like, we even saw in the trailer, you have to shoot him in the head, and her going out to finally shoot him in the head, and him sitting up before she could. Like, even the ending of that scene was spoiled. But to be fair, that is nothing wrong with the movie itself. That's more a complaint about the trailer. Complaint about the movie. Let me take a second to talk about Scream 3, which is one of my least favorite Scream movies, because they did something that I feel takes away the charm of Ghostface. And it was they had him cloning cell phones and using a voice changer that allowed him to actually impersonate other people, and half of the Ghostface phone calls, or I think more than half of the Ghostface phone calls, you had him pretending to be someone else on the phone, and to me that just wasn't Ghostface. It took away the charm of Ghostface. And then this movie took that up to another level with using deepfake AI, which, I mean, fair. AI's terrible, and obviously a serial killer's gonna use it. But it doesn't feel like Ghostface to me. But also, like, that's what allowed for all the Ghostfaces at the end, the callback, and obviously that's what allowed Matthew Lillard to be back. So I'm like, ooh, but do I dislike this? Because this allowed for the thing that I liked in this movie, but also it doesn't feel like Ghostface to me because of it, and it's something I don't like it when they do this with him. So I do have some mixed feelings on it, but I'm more in the camp of this doesn't feel like Ghostface to me, and I mostly don't like it, even if things came out of it that I do like. Also, the entire, like, formula of this movie just kind of felt off. It didn't feel entirely like Scream. Part of the charm of Scream is the killer is right there in the middle of everything all the time, hiding in plain sight. You look around the room, it could be anyone there. And in this movie, the main killer had been in 2 scenes, and the other killer had only been in 1. To be fair, they were both suspicious. I knew there was something up with the psychiatric ward guy. He knew more than he was letting on. I wasn't sure if he was a killer or if he was just hiding something, but I knew something was up with him. And the girl, I absolutely called her being one of the killers. There's just something about her, a look in her eyes after everything happened and when she was defending her son and told her son to stay away. I was just like, I'm not buying this. Your son's the red herring. I think it's you. And so, like, I got kind of a, like, yes, I was right, but also, she was in 2 scenes. I expected there to be someone else who'd actually be interesting. Also, the first kill had nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It was literally just there so they could have that shot in the trailer of Stu's house burning down. Like, I guarantee you, that was the only reason it was there, is because they decided to lean hard into nostalgia with the marketing of this movie, which, like I said, I love nostalgia. I get that, but there was no actual point to the scene. It was like miles away from where the rest of the story happened. Normally, the first kill is close by where the killer's operating, but this was miles away in Woodsboro. And the people weren't people that any of the characters knew. It didn't even have a connection. It wasn't like the killers had a connection to Stu, so they wanted to get rid of the house for some reason. There was literally no reason for that scene other than for the trailer. This movie also didn't feel as self-referential as most of the other Scream movies do. If you ask me, being self-referential is the defining trait of a good Scream movie. And this didn't have that as much. It had a couple little tongue-in-cheek, oh, bringing Stu back would be lame jokes. And then Mindy went on a very, very short spiel, and even when she started to go on it, Chad was like, no, we don't define the rules anymore. And I'm like, the hell you don't? That is the point of these movies, is to define the rules. What are you talking about? I didn't really appreciate that, because that is why I love Scream. I love the tongue-in-cheek, self-referential humor. And it wasn't really a big part of this one, which was disappointing. I was also disappointed by Tatum's friend group. They just kind of felt like an afterthought to me. Like I said, strong characters in a horror movie are very important to me because I need to be able to care about them. I did like McKenna's character. I thought she was fun, and I think she did a great job with her, but she was the first one killed off, of course. When he started going after her, I was like, surely they're not gonna kill her. She's the one throwing the party. You can't kill the girl that's throwing the party and getting everyone together for the big bloodbath at the end. No, we're killing her. Party's not happening. That was a red herring, which is fine. That one's not a big complaint, but she was really the only person in the friend group that actually seemed to have any personality. All the others were just boyfriends, the guy obsessed with the stab movies, and the girl who's into creepy guys. That was all the other 3 had. There was no actual personality to any of them. But I guess that kind of makes sense, since they didn't need a group for the killer to hide among. They were literally just there for the bloodbath. And speaking of bloodbath, this is more of a personal preference thing, but I felt like this movie was trying too hard to be gory. It's not that I have a problem with gore, it's just gore has never been a huge part of the Scream movies, and it felt more like Final Destination than Scream to me in that regard. So it just felt off, but that might be more of a personal preference thing. But to me, it was just like they were trying too hard for that shock value, and it was just one more thing that made it not feel as much like Scream. And while I am really glad that Sydney's husband survived because they had a really great dynamic, how? He'd been stabbed multiple times and was left bleeding out in the garage all day. I don't understand how he was still alive at the end. So overall, I would probably give this movie a 4.5 out of 10. I'm not sure I'm set on that rating. I feel like it can't be above a 5 when you don't even have the whole killer hiding in plain sight thing. Like, that is such a core dynamic and is something I love about this franchise, and they didn't have it, and that is really hard to forgive. I don't know, maybe my thoughts would be different on a rewatch. This might be one that I have to rewatch to figure out my full feelings on it. But right now I am saying 4.5 out of 10. But what did you think of the movie? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. Until next time, stay hyper.